Keepers gang, who was allegedly the mastermind behind a plot to take the Capitol and to halt the peaceful transfer of power by force on January 6th. Rhodes has been in jail since his arrest, an indictment earlier this month on multiple charges, including seditious conspiracy. Today, we learned he will remain in jail until his trial, which is tentatively set for July. Rhodes was denied bail in part because the judge deemed him a flight risk, and that was based on the fact that he appears to have constructed elaborate escape tunnels in his backyard. And how do we know about that? Well, Rhodes' ex-wife posted these photos of what she described as a training spider hole he built to hide from federal officers in case they came looking for him. And now going even further up the chain, federal prosecutors are looking into the phony elector certifications that were sent to the National Archives from multiple states, falsely declaring Donald Trump the winner of the 2020 election. The way I think about this scheme, it's sort of like when you're a kid in school, elementary school, and you get a letter sent home. Maybe it's about a bad grade, maybe about getting detention for some misbehavior. You might try to just forge your parent's signature, take it back the next day. This was like that, but for a coup that would end American democracy. Now, there's a somewhat technical process for electing a president, specifically how electors are chosen and sent to vote for the president. But basically, in practically every state, the winner of the popular vote in that state gets to send all of their electors to vote for that candidate. So after the 2020 election, Trump supporters in 7 different states that Joe Biden won sent phony certificates to the National Archives claiming that they were the actual electors. This is what that document looked like from Arizona. And the National Archives received the same kind of thing from Georgia, Michigan, New Mexico, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. And the National Archives is the place that these certificates get sent. It's just getting sent from people that didn't actually win. Now, in some cases, the documents are signed by the top state Republican Party officials. This was not just some like freelance group of wackos. So even though this may sound like sort of flailing, almost, again, comical attempt to like forge your parent's signature, sending some fake documents, hoping the National Archives won't notice, like, oh, look, we got this from Arizona. It was actually part of a very coordinated plan by Donald Trump and his allies. They knew full well these documents were not legitimate. One might even say fraudulent. But as Congressman Jamie Raskin, a member of the January 6th committee, told the New York Times, quote, the phony electors were part of a plan to create chaos on January 6th as a pretext for a contingent election. They were an effort to create the illusion of contested state results in order to trigger the second part of the plan, to give Mike Pence an excuse to reject the electors, stop the certification of Joe Biden as the winner, and keep Donald Trump in power. Now, we're still waiting to find out what, if anything, the January 6th committee that Congressman Raskin sits on is going to do about it. But Raskin and other members have said they are now looking at the fake certificates, and that's not all. Just last week, former Trump campaign advisor Boris Epshteyn admitted to this plot, telling my colleague Ari Melber that he was involved and another familiar name was in charge.
Yes, I was part of the process to make sure there were alternate electors for when, as we hoped, the challenges to the seated electors would be heard and would be successful per the 12th Amendment of the Constitution and the Electoral Count Act. Everything that was done illegally by the Trump legal team, according to the rules and under the leadership of Rudy Giuliani.
Well, it was done by the Trump legal team, but whether it was done legally or not, that's a real open question. Because it doesn't work like this, not supposed to work like this. It hasn't really ever happened before. And it seems like there's a pretty strong argument for potential criminality here. Again, the Trump supporters who signed each of the 7 phony certificates claimed when they signed that they were, and I quote here, the duly elected and qualified electors for the president and vice president of the United States of America from their respective state. That's facially false. That's not true. The thing they attested to in signatures and sent to the National Archives was a lie. The potential for charges related to this plot is also picking up steam, and it has implications that range across the entire country, because this plot was happening in 7 different states. In Georgia, as the Atlanta Journal-Constitution points out today, high-ranking state Republicans could face criminal scrutiny. Georgia Republican Party Chairman David Schaefer and State Senator Burt Jones, now a leading candidate for lieutenant governor, were among the fake electors. In Wisconsin, the issue could be headed to court. For nearly a year, the Bipartisan State Elections Commission has been considering a complaint alleging that Republicans who signed the false certificate committed fraud. They have made no moves yet, and lawyers who brought the case say they will act if the commission does not soon. And then there's Michigan. In Michigan, you might have seen this, Attorney General Dana Nessel gave federal prosecutors information from her investigation into the matter earlier this month. She says there is enough evidence to charge the 16 phony Republican electors. And Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson just shared new evidence with the January 6th committee and with U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland about coordination between the former president and his team and the Michigan officials, again, who carried out the fake electors plot. It includes an audio recording of the co-chair of the Michigan Republican Party, who himself was one of the fake electors, saying that Trump asked her and others to carry out the scheme to circumvent the electoral process. And Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson joins me now. Secretary, can you tell us what this recording is, what evidence there is of what this plot was and who was directing it?
Yes, thanks for having me, Chris, and for really connecting the dots for for your viewers just now. It was really great and underscores what this additional evidence is seeking to do. I mean, at this moment, when all of this is happening in December of 2020, Rudy Giuliani is visiting the state of Michigan, testifying before a sham legislative hearing about false allegations of wrongdoing in the election. There are other conversations happening between the White House and legislators. So a lot of this evidence and all of it that was submitted to the committee through our effort this week is designed to put all of these receipts, if you would say so, in the hands of federal investigators who have the ability to look further into what was happening behind the scenes, what other conversations happened, what coordination there was between this effort to lie to the federal government about who the electors were for the state of Michigan, and other coordination that ultimately could have led to and underscored the tragedy at our U.S. Capitol on January 6th.
So two things strike me about, we'll focus on the plot in your state, although it's replicated in state after state, is it's not just like random activists. I mean, it's not like a bunch of people who get together and say, we're going to do this. It's in many cases, it's the folks who are going to be the electors if Trump carried the state. And it's also it's coordinated with the Trump campaign and through the Republican Party. I mean, tell me about that, what you know about the degree of coordination